Hello, welcome back to the Haunted Basement Studio. I'm your host, Triple B, Brent Bromberg, and in this hardcore spoiler movie review, we're doing a continuation of 1985 VHS. That's right, VHS 1985. And this one is called God of Death. So let's get right into it. Now we go to Mexico, where we go inside a news studio where they begin to broadcast their show. And they are talking about trying to save all the old buildings from the 1900s when all of a sudden an earthquake starts to happen while they're on their live show on the air. And the host is telling them that it's okay, but the cameraman's like, move, this is dangerous. But she doesn't move, and the ceiling falls on her and smashes her, and she dies. And the cameraman now is laying on the floor with dust all around him as the fire department is trying to break into the studio door. There is dead bodies laying all on the ground, and the cameraman is barely alive. They move a piece of heavy concrete off of his back, and the building is collapsing. They need to get out of there, so they start to carry the cameraman. They need to get out of the building, but they're up a few stories in the building. They climb down some stairs through a hallway while the building is collapsing on them. The leader gets impaled by some rebar that's coming out of the wall, and he cannot move, and they have to leave him there. But before they do, one of them takes a crowbar and smashes it over his head, and then they crawl through an air duct, and they're wondering how many floors are there. As they are crawling through the air duct, it collapses, and they end up in a room underneath the building. A loud screeching noise comes from somewhere, and they say it sounds like voices. And as they look around, they don't see nothing, and the screeching happens louder and louder. And then one of them says, I hear somebody. We gotta go towards it. Let's go check it out. They are crawling through the tunnels. They are underground, and now the floor is covered in fog and a prehistoric paintings on the walls. The light from the camera goes out, and they now are in complete darkness. And then they get the light back on again, and they're in an old ritual site with skulls embedded into the walls. And as the ceiling starts to crack open, a skull carving on the wall opens up, and one of the rescuers starts staring at it, and he is mesmerized by it. This is the wall of Mictlan. The wall of what? Eddie the rescuer now is taking off his helmet, and his body starts to contort, and he turns around with a crowbar in his hand, and he says, Miquelon, our god has risen from the underworld, our king. And then they are yelling at him, put the crowbar down. He says, we'll be compensated, our god will feed and collect. Eddie, what is happening to you? Put down that crowbar. But as he does, he stabs himself with the crowbar, and blood is squirting all over the place. What the fuck are you doing? He says, my heart is my blood, my gift, my welcome. Now Kara grabs him, but Eddie pushes her off of her and pushes her up against the wall with demon strength. And then he stabs the other rescuer and says, this is the wall of Tom Zampinia. Victims of war display this savage victory as a demon rises from behind Eddie, and he says, step back into our lands of Tenochtitlan. Now the demon pulls out his heart and is eating it. The other two of them take off running through the tunnels. Kara is able to slip into some cracks in the wall, but the cameraman cannot fit into it, and the demon grabs him from behind and takes a bite out of his head. Now he is on the ground and he hears a sound coming from all around him. He picks up his camera and he uses the light from it. He's like, fuck, where is everybody? Where did Carla go? And then he turns around and she stabs him in the stomach with the crowbar. She throws down the crowbar and starts to take her clothes off, and she says, "Our Lord, all powerful, God of many names." And now she pulls out his heart and she says, "Mikulon, bless us with your presence, bathe us with your strength," as she falls to her knees and she hands the beating heart to the demon and she says, "Rise up." The demon takes the heart and the whole building collapses. The end. Man, I really did enjoy this one. It was really fast and quick, and even though it was subtitled, it worked really well. And this like how raw it was, kind of like how the demon came out of the wall, and it was just like kind of, it was like surreal, like if it really happened, like, not this crazy CGI shit at all. No, it was all practical effects and it worked. And there was a lot going on there with the helicopters flying around the buildings. Like, was there like a war going on or was it an earthquake? But who fucking knows, because the god of death was reborn and brought into our world, and that's what that was. So hell yeah. VHS 1985 is not bad at all. This thing is just keep going and going and good. So if you want to know about the next short story on this movie, hit that subscribe button and maybe that thin bell, because then you'll know when I drop another video, which will probably be next week. So we love you, motherfuckers. Laters.